as they get set to take on Maryland on the road. And welcome to the Big Ten on ESPN. Big crowd on hand here at the Xfinity Center in College Park, Maryland. As always, you know UConn's going to draw a big crowd on the road. And is today the day that the Terps get their first ever win over Connecticut? Gino's got them 7-0 so far in the head-to-head series. Beth Mowens, along with Rebecca Lobo and Andrea Carter, and we get another look at the All-America candidate today for the Terps in Diamond Miller.
Diamond Miller is such a fun player to watch, and she leads Maryland in scoring, leads Maryland in rebounding, just under 19 points, 7 rebounds a game, capable out to the three-point line, but where she really excels is when she puts the ball on the deck, uses her explosiveness to get to the rim, has the mid-range game as well, and has the flair for the big moments as we saw a week ago.
That could be problematic with the numbers that she's put up in the games that she's played this year against ranked opponents. 30-plus and double-doubles in those wins on the road at Notre Dame and Baylor. The UConn Huskies, meanwhile, they come in much depleted today. 5 players are out. 4 of them would have been penciled in as starters at the start of the season. Nika Mule is the latest addition. She is in the concussion protocol, so an opportunity for other role players to step it up.
The biggest concern for Connecticut coming into this game with this lineup, where do they get their scoring from? Well, it's going to have to be by committee. Aaliyah Edwards, Aubrey Griffin coming off her best game of the season. Lou Lopez Seneschal, their second leading scorer behind AZ Fudd. A lot of players are going to have to give a little bit more, in particular on the offensive end.
They're going to be inexperienced on the perimeter. They'll need another big showing from Aubrey Griffin, who did not miss a shot, dropping 29 points in Thursday's win against Princeton. But Andrea Carter, how do they handle the pressure today?
Well, Beth, that is going to be the biggest question at shoot-around. Gino Auriemma said how this team handles pressure will be the biggest factor in whether or not they get a win. Last time out against Princeton, Connecticut had 27 turnovers, 14 in the fourth quarter. That cannot happen today against Maryland. One player to keep your eye on is UConn freshman guard, number 21 in white, Anesh Betancourt. She got some wise words from Paige Becker's pregame. She is making her first career start. Handling that pressure will be huge. It is a great opportunity for her today.
And just a few months ago, she thought she would be playing in the junior college ranks, but Connecticut found her, got her onto campus, and now into the starting lineup due to all those injuries. As Gino Auriemma looks on now in his 38th season, winners of 11 national championships against the Terps. And Brenda Fries, we've got 2 of the 5 active coaches that have won national championships. Matching wits here this afternoon. Maryland going with the black jerseys. It's a blackout Sunday for the Terps.
UConn starting out in their man-to-man. Maryland will try to get the ball into Diamond Miller's hands often on the offensive end.
Pull-up is good from Abby Myers, and her start will be critical after she was briefly benched last week, back into the starting lineup today.
You saw Maryland pick up in some token pressure. They will continue to do that. As you heard Drea talk about Connecticut's difficulty with pressure in their last game. No difficulty here. They worked all shoot-around today, getting the ball inside, trying to take advantage of their bigs.
Aaliyah Edwards, the 6'3" junior from Ontario, Canada. They will have the size advantage. Maryland was concerned about that today in shoot-around.
Just saw in that shot, Maryland did not send anybody to the offensive boards. They are looking to get back in transition defense because Connecticut's so good when they can run.
Their game is turn you over and then push it. Here is Diamond Miller. She'll attack, going right at Edwards. Her scoop won't go. And here comes Betancourt. Caroline Ducharme, another new addition to the starting lineup. Second turnover here in the early going for Connecticut. There's a look at Brenda. 21 seasons, including the 2006 national championship team. Just picked up her 600th career win against Purdue. Shy Sellers goes to the left hand and uses the backboard.
Nice move by Cheyenne Sellers. Great footwork, in particular for a guard to step through and get the score.
Betancourt with the bigger Sellers on her defensively. Inesh with the miss. Edwards cleans it up.
It's another area that was a concern for Brenda Fries, was rebounding against Connecticut. They give up some size. Connecticut has had success getting second opportunities this season.
Traditionally, the Terps have been a fabulous rebounding team, but the numbers have not been there this year. A lot of turnover in their lineup. As Diamond Miller's first attempt from downtown is off. Edwards with the face up. Trying to spin. Good dig down, and the takeaway for Pinzon. That's the third turnover already. Leaves it off for Myers. And a foul on the rebound will go on Faith Masonis of Maryland. Gino Auriemma, the Hall of Famer, 14 consecutive trips to the Final Four. And with all the injuries starting out last year and this year, is that streak in jeopardy? The one good thing is it's still early. They're still going to get a lot of those injured players back, Rebecca.
That's one heck of a team sitting there in sweatpants, isn't it?
More on the bench than are available to play today. They'd be in your top 10 or top 5, right? Just
sure
that
thing.
group if they're all healthy. Offensive foul as Myers takes the charge. That is now 4 turnovers for Connecticut in the first 3 minutes.
And equally importantly, Lopez Seneschal, a foul. This is a player who cannot afford to get into foul trouble. That's when Connecticut had so much difficulty in the fourth quarter. She was on the bench as well with foot issues. She needs to be a secondary ball handler against the pressure.
They only have 2 available players to come in off that bench today.
Both are bigs.
Briggs, mid-range.
From bigs to Briggs, I like it.
There you go. And now the push, Betancourt with the spin, finds the open shooter. Lopez Seneschal, and the emotion from Betancourt getting the assist.
Betancourt looks like a completely different person this first 3.5 minutes than the player who finished off the game against Princeton. She was not comfortable at the end of that game turning the ball over. She has a nice command about her so far today.
3-ball is good from Brene Alexander, the senior transfer from Vanderbilt.
Brenda Fries going to her bench early. Diamond Miller, one of the players on the bench now, and Alexander's done a good job stepping in and hitting threes.
But part of that game plan's got to be to try and wear UConn down, right? With that short bench. Got a whistle underneath, and that will go against Alexander.
This does not look like a young woman, a freshman who's unsure of herself. Comes down, head up, delivers the ball on the money. That was just really well done. Connecticut again in their shoot-around, Beth. What did they spend the first 45 minutes just working on getting the ball inside to their bigs, going one-on-one? That's the area where they have the advantage here today. A smaller Maryland team.
Yeah, what did Gino say? I want you guys to just play basketball. Just play one-on-one. Just like that. Griffin off the bounce.
That's where she excels, using her quickness and athleticism. Talking about quickness and athleticism right there, Diamond Miller.
Miller got a little too far underneath the bucket. Myers through traffic, pulls up, no. And Griffin has it. Aubrey, the junior from Ossining, New York, has been in the starting lineup the last 6 games due to the thumb injury to Dorka Juhas, who they hope to have back real soon. And a bump and a trip to the free throw line coming up for Aubrey.
Aubrey Griffin is explosive, and she's really good putting the ball on the deck, especially when she comes in as a post player and sometimes has posts on her. And in this last possession, Connecticut elevated their offense and dove her inside, so she had the whole lane with which to operate.
Didn't play all of last year and now has stepped into the starting lineup from a family of ballers, starting with dad, and her mom Audrey was a trackster.
Brother AJ is now in the starting lineup with the Atlanta Hawks, playing well for them. He is Aubrey's sister, though, when we're calling this game.
That's right, exactly.
She is not his brother, or he is, I'm sorry, Aubrey's brother. She is not his sister. There we go, yeah.
Lopez Seneschal is their weapon from outside, and they are finding Edwards anytime they want her inside. They've hit 5 of their first 6 shots of the Huskies.
Matchup to keep an eye on is Griffin on Diamond Miller, because those are the 2 best athletes on the floor right now.
Myers tries the baseline, and the pass hit the bottom of the backboard. Here comes Betancourt on the run.
Who is this young woman wearing number 21 in white? Ines Betancourt, the freshman, has come out in a moment where the Connecticut Huskies really need her with incredible poise. UConn on an 8-0 run. How's she feeling about it?
UConn has hit 6 of its first 7 shots, and Ines Betancourt is running the show.
She's come out with incredible poise for a freshman, especially after having some struggles in the 4th quarter in their last game against Princeton. Been so impressed.
What are you seeing on your side, Andrea?
Well, Beth, Rebecca, I know, Rebecca, you might not know this as a post player, but as a point guard.
Talk to me, Drea.
One of the easiest ways to settle in as a point guard are the little things. Calling for the outlet pass loud, getting the ball up the floor, and pushing with the dribble, playing with your head up. But the biggest thing that I see, she's getting the ball to the middle of the floor. As a point guard, when you get the ball to the middle, you can see everything. You have so much more room to operate, and it makes you more comfortable. Those little things are making a difference.
I'm just so impressed by it, Drea. In the 4th quarter against Princeton, when she came in, she looked like a player who did not want the basketball in her hands. And today, so far, she's had just a completely different, comfortable feeling with it.
A basket, an assist, 0 turnovers.
Maryland now going to a zone. They were having difficulty defending Connecticut's bigs in their man-to-man. Here they force a turn.
5th turnover for UConn. Hey, next Sunday, Huskies are back in action against Florida State, 1 Eastern on ESPN. And then 3 o'clock on ABC, it's Tennessee and number 2 Stanford. Both games also available on your app, so you can watch it on the go. Myers gets an open look. That won't go. And now Betancourt adds a rebound to her tally. That's the 6th turnover. Maryland so far, though, not able to make them pay for those takeaways. Sellers pulls up and gets it to go.
Stein Sellers has been good, has gotten to her spots, been able to finish shots.
Ducharme. There's Edwards. Inside the Ducharme, blocked by Diamond Miller.
Yeah, this zone has been effective so far. If the team's beating you inside, start packing it in. That's what Maryland's doing.
Miller 0 for 4 to start today. Ducharme, that won't go. And now Sellers with the rebound. 2.5 to go here in the 1st quarter. Sellers banked it in, and then the shrug.
You know how hard it is to bank a baseline shot in?
Near impossible.
Almost. So now the paint not nearly as open as it was earlier against the man, so you're going to need some of that mid-range shot, some shots from deep as well.
Betancourt off the bounce. Edwards is there. Edwards has 8, and now already a couple of offensive rebounds.
Yeah, really nice start so far for Aaliyah Edwards, the only player in the starting lineup that would be still in the starting lineup if everyone was healthy.
Pull-up is good from Masonis, the senior out of Belmar, New Jersey.
Nice response here from Maryland.
She missed most of last season with an ACL injury, and with all the turnover in the Maryland lineup, they lost 5 of their top 6 players from last year. As Edwards scores again inside. She's got 10.
That pass was a little low, but she went and got it. Instead of letting the Maryland defense do that, instead, Aaliyah Edwards looking really good.
Miller gets inside. 0 for 5 to start the game. Edwards. Aaliyah gets it back. The kick out. Lou sets the feet. No good. And Myers gets Maryland on the run. What's the angle on this one?
I don't know, but it's a great shot in horse if you can figure out a way to make it.
Oh!
I mean, how the heck did that go in? I don't know. It's still worth 2.
Crazy shot. The block. And then they give it right back. Miller drops it off. Massonis fouled. And she'll get a trip to the line.
Diamond Miller with a slow start to this game. I mean, she is such an incredibly talented player. 0 for 5 right now. A young woman who that's the story this year. She's been a little bit inconsistent.
Faith able to put the first in. Your hoop scoop, one of 10 kids in her family, and what a nice day for her. Her mom, Ellen Clark, is a former UConn assistant coach, and her brother was a hockey player at Connecticut. One of the 9 others. Thanks to my buddies Aaron and Tyler, the radio guys here at Maryland. They dropped that nugget on us pregame.
That's a lot of others, man.
Edwards, a little too far underneath, missed the layup. And now Diamond Miller will hold for 1. Gino gets Griffin to back away. Miller will take the uncontested 3, short. And that'll take care of the first quarter. 19-15, UConn over Maryland. We'll be back with more action after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Comes back to the U.S.
What an incredible sense of relief and joy within not just the women's basketball community, but the basketball community in general. When we heard the news that she was being returned to the U.S., incredible to have her home.
Start of the second quarter here in College Park. Connecticut shooting better than 50% in that first quarter. And they got to Aaliyah Edwards quite a bit, 10 points for Aaliyah. The turnovers are starting to show themselves, and they have shut down Diamond Miller so far.
In the last possession, Massonis was fronting Aaliyah Edwards, not letting her catch the ball in the post. Connecticut guards turning it over.
The 5 Connecticut starters played every minute in that first quarter. They did not come out.
Oh, no.
And now a collision between Betancourt and Edwards. Aaliyah's still wearing the mask, and she got Inesh, it looked like right in the nose. And a foul out top as Pinzon tries to crank up the heat a little bit on Betancourt.
Man, if you're in a UConn jersey, you got to avoid Aaliyah Edwards.
Oof. It was a collision with Aaliyah. AZ Fudd went out of the Notre Dame game. It was the collision with Aaliyah, all unintentional, of course.
Of course.
With Mule in the last game. She's been their go-to here today, hitting 5 of 7 shots.
Look at the difference, though, the space that's being taken up in the paint.
Drops it off, nice feed, Aubrey Griffin for 2.
Yeah, you're not going to just be able to duck in anymore. And a great job by Aaliyah Edwards to put the ball on the floor, make the help defense come over.
Miller still looking for her first basket. steps around and will head to the free throw line.
Yeah.
We talked about the issues with the rebounding, the ability for Connecticut to get into the paint. That's because they're shorthanded as well on the front line. They've got 3 players, 6'2", 6'2", and 6'3", that are all sidelined right now with injuries. So that is the challenge that they're facing.
We just saw Diamond Miller. That's her move. She loves to drive left, and then if you take it away from her, loves that step through with the left leg, gets to the free throw line as a result. Oh, that's big.
And this is huge now for Connecticut as Lopez Seneschal goes out with 3 personal fouls, and Ayanna Patterson will come on, the freshman from Fort Wayne, Indiana.
So you lose a ball handler. And we talked about it, at the end of the Princeton game. She was also on the bench. And if you're Maryland right now, it's like, all right, it's time to amp up our full court pressure.
They only have one other substitute available, Amari DeBerry, and that's it. And this will go to the Terrapins.
And pressure can have a cumulative effect, and even if it doesn't bother you early on in the first quarter, getting into the second quarter now, we're seeing a few more turnovers from Betancourt.
As many turnovers as field goals now in the game for Connecticut, 9.
Not a good ratio.
They're fortunate right now. Maryland is only shooting 31%, and Diamond Miller is 0 for 7. Edwards, 16-footer is good. Sellers, who was the hero of their Purdue game, a buzzer beater. They're second in their last 3 games. Good step around by Myers.
Great initial head fake to get Edwards off of her feet.
Well, you want to bring the pressure, but you don't want to commit the fouls. That's a couple of them out around midcourt.
Big players love to block shots, and Abby Myers knows that little fake. Gets Edwards off her feet, and she's just so good in her mid-range pull-up.
Gino's reaction was such because they were telling their players to shoot around today, you've got to stay on the floor. Ducharme. Looks like they're going to get Miller for the reach-in. Don't forget the annual NBA on Christmas Day tradition just around the corner. Got 5 games for you on ESPN and ABC. Starts with the Sixers and Knicks at noon and then runs all day long. Terrific lineup, including the Celtics, Bucks, Grizz Warriors, the Lakers, Mavs, and the Suns Nuggets.
Celtics, Bucks, man. Can't wait for that one.
Woo. Warriors just got a big win last night against Boston. That's a rarity. Edwards, the fade to try and beat the shot clock. And now the push for Myers. Briggs spins. Tough pass. Briggs gets her own miss. Sellers will try from just inside the line. That won't go. And here comes Griffin. And they're going to call the foul here on Lavender Briggs. Senior transfer from Florida. That's her second.
And Maryland certainly has increased their pressure. That wasn't much of a nudge. But again, with Lopez Seneschal out of the game, you feel if you're Maryland, all right, this is our time. We can get some steals. We can put some extra pressure on, and they've tried to do that, but have been getting hit with fouls the last few times down the floor.
That's already their 4th team foul. The next one will get UConn on the line the rest of the first half. Betancourt. They'll try to go behind her back, and it's taken away, and then a foul going to be called. Who'd they call that on? Is that on Maryland?
I think so. I think she was saying somebody grabbed Betancourt on her way down. Oh, it was on Betancourt.
Oh, no, it is on Betancourt.
So she gets wrapped up with Sellers. Oh.
Yeah, the officials, I think one of them tried to call it on Maryland.
Because you see Sellers' arm in the neck of Betancourt. I think Betancourt thought it was called on Maryland as well.
Yeah. Three turnovers now for Inej. Myers, the skip, Sellers, got it.
Cheyenne Sellers has been really, really good. Really, really good in a half where Diamond Miller has struggled to find the hoop.
She's got 9. Puts the crowd up and at him a little bit. Miller through traffic. Diamond kicks it out to Myers. Back-to-back triples. Timeout, UConn.
Maryland is on an 8-0 run, and their guards are getting it done from the outside. Cheyenne Sellers, left corner 3. Who's got the left corner this time? Abby Myers draining it. Maryland up by 4.
Yeah, Sellers and Myers combining for 16 points here in the first half for Maryland. And they have started to crank up the defense, forcing the UConn turnovers. They have outscored the Huskies 12-4 here in the second. Good pick and roll from Edwards to lay it in.
I mean, all the turnovers, and they were talking about it in the studio. Keep in mind, Nika Mule, the point guard, the leading assist maker in all of women's college basketball, out with injury, but also AZ Fudd was a primary ball handler before she got injured, in particular when teams would extend their pressure.
Fudd, when she went out, was one of the top scorers in the country. And this has been the issue Thursday in Princeton and continuing today.
Really, really well done on the screen and roll, and you see Ducharme somehow get the ball through the 2 defenders and hit the roller, Aaliyah Edwards. Edwards is the one on the floor who can really score. The problem is she's a post player, so it's not like she can create from the outside. How about Abby Myers stepping up big?
Another 3 from Myers, who was pulled out of the starting lineup for their last game against Purdue, coming off the bench. Brenda Free said she needed a jolt, and it has worked well.
I think she's still jolted.
Scored 19 against Purdue, and now off to a good start here today after she went 4 of 17 in the 2 games prior. Edwards, nice cut and a good find by Griffin.
Just playing basketball. Great job by Aaliyah Edwards to continue to move after Aubrey Griffin got stuck behind the hoop.
Myers. Her 5th bucket of this first half. Griffin thought about the 3, thinks twice, around and out. Offensive rebound. They are just dominating on the glass. Ducharme 3. Extra possession gets them a bucket.
That's the easiest time to hit a 3, when you're open off of the offensive board.
It's plus 11 on the glass right now for Connecticut.
How about Abby Myers, though, and Cheyenne Sellers? How they've played on a day when Diamond Miller's struggling to score.
Another one. Myers. No heat check necessary. Ducharme tries to answer. Battle for the offensive rebound, and Griffin will head to the line.
Abby Myers, a 5th-year player who just comes in with a certain level of confidence when she plays, and certainly feeling very confident these last 2 games.
You all talked about how Brenda Fries sat Abby Myers in the last game, had her come off the bench, and I asked Coach Fries, how did Abby Myers handle that? She said they had a one-on-one meeting, and Abby Myers handled it perfectly. Abby said, I would have done the same thing. I've been letting this team down. She took complete responsibility and ownership, and she stepped up since then.
Yeah, how about shooting 1 for 5 in the first quarter and now 5 for 5 in the second quarter?
I wonder if after this game she'll go and say, and Coach Fries, by the way, I would have done the same thing by putting me back in the starting lineup today, too.
We'll keep an eye on that. Last foul, by the way, was on Diamond Miller, so she goes to the bench with 2. Myers making a play on the glass as well. Now Betancourt. Tried the one-handed pass, and it's another turnover. Sellers drops it off for Alexander. Got it. They are so good on the run.
Yeah, really good. Pushing in transition off of the Connecticut turnover. Maryland continuing to switch up their defenses. Last time in a man-to-man.
Griffin. And that'll stay at this end. It's V Week here at ESPN, and when we partner with the V Foundation to highlight the urgent need for cancer research, this is game-changing research that helps save lives, and you can join the fight against cancer by visiting v.org/donate. 100% of your donation goes directly to cancer research. As Ayanna Patterson knocks down the shot. Myers, her first miss of this second quarter. Short on the layup from Patterson.
This has been an entertaining game so far. Decent pace up and down.
Final minute and a half. Maryland trying to beat Connecticut for the first time ever. 0-7 against Gino. As Pinzon hits the three.
What is Maryland from the left corner three? It feels like 100%.
Off the bounce, Edwards. Could get a 2-for-1 here. Alexander triple. And that's going to be a foul on Masonis over the back. Connecticut will get some free throws. Second on Faith.
We've talked about Connecticut's turnovers, 11 turnovers now in this game. Maryland, incredible, just one. They have done a phenomenal job taking care of the basketball.
They'll get to the free throw line. They are 4 for 4. And they are all Griffin 4 for 4. 5 for 5 for Aubrey. Well, you gotta like her resilience, going 11 for 11 from the floor against Princeton after she shot 1 for 12 in the loss at Notre Dame.
And a lot of them the same shots.
Yeah.
Open threes, drive to the basket, mid-range. That's when you know a player has confidence, when they can follow up a really tough shooting night with a great one.
Myers does it again. Her 4th triple of the half.
Brene Alexander with an incredible screen to give Myers the time to get that shot off.
Well, the rest of the Terps have really picked it up. Looking to take the lead into the locker room, even though Diamond Miller does not have a basket in this first half. 2 points at the free throw line. Edwards, offensive foul.
So 2 plays by Brene Alexander that do not show up in the stat sheet. 1, she sets a great screen right there on Aubrey Aubrey Griffin doesn't let her get through, so that Abby Myers has the time and then takes the charge.
Final seconds of the first half. Sellers. And they will not get a shot up, but they take the lead into the half. 43-36. Big second quarter led by Abby Myers. 18 points with 4 3-pointers. Yeah, now courtside Beth Mowens along with Rebecca Lobo, they've won 93% of their home games here at the Xfinity Center. You talk about that home court as they try and get that first win ever over UConn.
Yeah, I mean, Maryland just had a tremendous poise and took care of the basketball so well in that first half, and they had a lot to contend with, in particular early, with Aaliyah Edwards on the interior. She was terrific. 16 points in the first half. Connecticut dominated the paint, 20-4 in paint points. But on the other side, on a day when Diamond Miller's struggling to score, Abby Myers was outstanding and efficient as well. 18 points in that first half, 4 of 6 from 3. You heard Brenda Fries talking about sharing the basketball. Maryland did that really well in the first half.
Yeah, Abby was 1 for 5 in the first quarter, and then everything changed in the second quarter. Has hit 7 of 12 for 18 points.
Likes that left side of the floor.
Yes. So Myers was the story from outside. Edwards was the story from inside. Turnovers favored Maryland. Rebounds favored Connecticut. And that's why they had the points in the paint. Andrea Carter?
Well, Beth, I caught up with Gino Ariema coming out of halftime. He said defensively they had 2 focuses to limit Diamond Millers on the inside and Abby Myers on the outside. He said they did one of those 2 things. They have to find Abby Myers better this second half. He said offensively it's the turnovers. In a colorful way, he said all our ball handlers are on the bench, but they have got to find a way.
And there is the first basket of the day for Diamond Miller.
Maryland gets to the offensive glass, gets another opportunity. Keep an eye on Lou Lopez-Seneschal. She was the only player for Connecticut who had a positive plus-minus in the first half. Things changed a bit when she came out with that 3rd foul.
Yeah, she only played 11 minutes in that first half. UConn only played 6 players. Griffin gets it inside, lost the handle, held ball, and it will go to the Terps.
You heard Steph White talk about it at halftime. Maryland had really good ball movement in that first half, changed sides of the floor, moving it around. Connecticut's kind of playing an overplay defense on their help side, and if you move the ball quickly side to side, you can get open looks. You saw in the first half in particular in that left corner.
Enjoying their biggest lead of the night. Miller. The pins on the other side, no.
Great start on the glass for Maryland.
Sellers was able to tip it to herself. Bettencourt with the rebound. They have had tremendous success whenever they've gotten Edwards a touch, number 3 in white. Here she is stepping away from the bucket. Lopez-Seneschal fouled on the shot, and that'll be the 3rd on Diamond Miller.
Connecticut starting Patterson here in the second half instead of Ducharme. It looked like Diamond Miller got it clean up top, but then didn't give her the space to land.
So Diamond goes out, and Lou Lopez-Seneschal will head to the free throw line. 94% on the season. 15 of 16 so far this year for the transfer from Fairfield, the MAAC Player of the Year. Got them a trip to the NCAA tournament.
I just watched the replay in my monitor, and she got her everywhere.
Yeah.
It wasn't clean up top.
Got her money's worth. So Diamond will watch for a bit. Sellers pulls up 15. One-handed snare by Patterson. Patterson with the catch inside. Good look from Lopez Seneschal. Back to within 5. Looking for 3. That's been their moneymaker today, Alexander.
A Maryland team that makes just under 7 threes a game at 35% has been on fire, and a lot of it has been switching sides of the floor, moving the basketball around. Can they keep it up?
Already with 8 of them, Rebecca, they're 50% from downtown.
I mean, you just see switch sides of the floor, and closeout is not quick enough. Alexander drains it.
More points from outside the line than inside so far today for Maryland. Ducharme, good catch. And give the assist to Edwards.
Ducharme is a big guard who uses her frame well to post up in the paint. And the answer.
Masonis rattles one in.
Really, really good poise for Maryland. First half, second half. You know, first half they get down, they're able to come back. Here they answer runs.
More hoops coming your way a week from today. Got a good doubleheader on ESPN and ABC for you. Florida State, UConn at 1, and then Tennessee at Stanford. 3 Eastern next Sunday. Get to check out Hannah Jump and Cameron Brink, Haley Jones and company. For the number 2 Cardinal. Back up to a 10-point lead for Maryland. Ducharme fouled.
I mean, getting it in the paint, that's where Connecticut's had success. They've been able to do that. Direct entries into their bigs, high-low. That time, dribble penetration, getting to the free throw line. They've also done that well. Connecticut now 8 for 8 from the line.
And that is the second Maryland starter picking up a 3rd foul. Masonis and Miller. Faith is still in there as Brenda Fries looks down the bench. She'll keep her in there. Ducharme hits the second.
Brenda Fries has a bench she can look down.
I know.
Gino looks over, is like, I got 2.
A bench of 2. Masonis. Sellers gets around Lopez Seneschal with the right hand. She's into double digits. Got 11 points. And Gino wants a timeout. Lopez Seneschal checking her face. I don't know if she got hit around the eyes or not. We'll be back in a moment. So let's go back to that last, right before the timeout. Looked like Lou Lopez Seneschal might have gotten caught. Right side of your screen. Yeah, the inadvertent hand to the face.
It's right when Gino Auriemma was calling the timeout. UConn was a little bit confused offensively as they were trying to get into their set.
Lost another player due to injury, Nika Mule. The injuries started last year, and unfortunately for Connecticut, have carried over. It started with the loss in the offseason of National Player of the Year candidate Paige Beckers, and most recently AZ Fudd, who was out at least 3 to 6 weeks, and then in their last game, Mule. They hope to have Dorka Juhas back. Of course, for those of us that have been around a while, Connecticut's been through this before. You go back to the late 90s and early 2000s with the season-ending injuries to Nikisha Sales and Sue Bird, and then that incredible 2001 UConn team that lost both Svetlana Abrosimova and then Shea Ralph.
It's all their ball handlers, their scorers, their creators. It's a little bit easier when you lose a big or 2.
Yeah. Sellers scores inside.
And she's been so good on the offensive end. The young woman whose offensive game has really grown from that last year to this year, playing with tremendous confidence here today.
They shot 30% in the first quarter. They're shooting close to 60% since. And Abby Myers was really the trigger on the outside. Sellers inside. Short corner bucket is good from Patterson.
Brenda Fries has to be really, really pleased with her team on the offensive end of the floor. This is a Connecticut team that is going to struggle to score because of the players that they do not have. So their hope is to get stops defensively, and Maryland has continued to put points up on the board, move the ball well, take good shots.
And still just the one turnover in the game. Here comes Myers. Alexander off the dribble. Griffin's got it. Nice drop off. Edwards from Lopez Seneschal. 19 now for Aaliyah. An offensive foul going to be called here on Maryland. .48 with 4:20 to go here in the third. Back here at the Xfinity Center, Beth Mowens, Rebecca Lobo, Andrea Carter at our top 20 showdown. 56-48 Maryland. That last foul before the break was on Faith Masonis, her fourth. She goes out, and Diamond Miller comes back in with 3. And we are seeing for the first time Amari DeBerry come on for Connecticut. So all 7 and the only 7 available today for the Huskies have now all seen action.
This is the biggest lineup we've seen for Connecticut on the floor, and immediately they turn it over.
DeBerry is the 6'5" sophomore from Williamsville, New York. Myers for 3.
Yeah, here in this third quarter, Aaliyah Edwards has had the responsibility of defending Abby Myers.
Miller gets the takeaway. That's 17 turnovers now. And then short on the shot.
Diamond Miller just hasn't looked comfortable all afternoon.
1 for 9 now in the afternoon. Working inside, Edwards. Good muscle to get to the rim.
And Connecticut's got the size advantage, but doesn't help you if you can't get the post to touch. She was in the mid-post and just went to work all on her own, backing her defender down.
She's got to be the go-to every time up the floor, I would think. Lopez Seneschal fouled on the drive. Brenda Fries was trying to get a timeout on that last possession and couldn't get it in.
So Connecticut not able to get Edwards the ball right on the block, so you give it to her 5 feet off the block and let her back it down. Like when you're in the driveway with your younger sibling, you try to get this kid.
28 paint points for Connecticut.
I don't think Connecticut's used this triple big lineup all year. I mean, they're using plenty of lineups today they haven't used all year because of injury, but to have Edwards, Patterson, and DeBerry in the game all together, but can they handle the pressure when it's applied? Their guards.
Edwards has 10 baskets. The rest of the team has 9. And they are lurking. Back to a 4-point game. Down by as many as a dozen. With 3 minutes to go in the third. Myers.
But that's their advantage. Involve DeBerry in the on-ball screen, make her step out on Myers.
Was able to bother that shot attempt. Patterson, no. Offensive rebound, tries again, up and in. And the Huskies are within 2.
Patterson is a workhorse. She gets the ball inside. She's going to be relentless on the glass.
10-0 run for Connecticut.
Connecticut trying to find a way to manufacture some points. freshman getting it done.
.236 to go in the third. A 10-0 run for Connecticut. All but erased a 12-point deficit. And now what's the counter punch going to be for Maryland?
Well, if Connecticut had stayed in a man-to-man, I would have involved DeBerry's player in on-ball screens to get her to switch. But now Connecticut is out in a 2-3, and with their big lineup, hands in the air, they take up a lot of room.
They've taken away Myers on the perimeter. She's 0 for 2 this quarter after that big second quarter.
Ooh, is this on Lopez Seneschal?
Looks like Edwards.
That's only her, what, first?
Second. And now Brenda's saying, hey, wait a second. That's on number 11. They switch it here? Yes, they did. Her fourth foul as Miller scores on the out-of-bounds play. And here comes the full-court pressure.
Man, that was an unlucky foul, too, because it was just your foot being in the wrong place and accidentally tripping her.
Lopez Seneschal going to take it short. And then a foul on the rebound as DeBerry lands hard and stays down.
Connecticut foul on number 44, Aubrey Griffin. That's her first.
That's the first on Griffin.
Griffin's not on the floor.
Yeah, they're going to change that to Patterson. They also don't have their primary ball handler, Betancourt, out there right now.
Where's the foul? The two UConn players run into one another, and they call a foul. You can't foul your own teammate, can
No,
you?
I don't think so.
Yeah, there was no foul there. I mean, I know you can't.
I knew that was rhetorical.
Okay.
Well, the threes that were falling in the second, not doing so in the third for Maryland. Ducharme got it. Miller. And back it out to Alexander. Another three ball. Got it.
Yeah.
Lavender Briggs.
Great job by Briggs, and that's the player to attack. If DeBerry has to come out on the perimeter, that is not where she's comfortable defensively.
DeBerry gets the assist to Patterson. She's into double digits now with 10.
She keeps it simple, and when she is simple, she's effective.
Miller into the lane on a foul. And it'll be the second on Patterson.
Connecticut foul on number 34, Patterson. That's her second, third on the team.
Yeah, safe to say that's a foul. Oh, and then they headbutted each other accidentally after the play.
At the line for the Germans, Diamond Miller.
So Miller will go to the free throw line where she's 2 for 2.
And Lopez Seneschal has to come out of the game with foul trouble, so Griffin comes back in to give Betancourt an extra ball handler. That extra big lineup was really good for Connecticut, but they can't go with it unless Lopez Seneschal is on the floor.
That got the 12-point deficit down to 3 as Miller gets 1 of 2. Betancourt. Final 30 seconds of this third quarter. Ducharme inside the double team, and she walks with it, and that'll turn the shot clock off here for Maryland.
Connecticut's done a much better job taking care of the ball in the second half, but how about Maryland? Two total turnovers in this game. Incredible.
Did not manage the clock well at the end of the half. Can they do better here to end the third?
How about the big girl out on the perimeter defending?
Sellers. Throws it away. She had Diamond Diamond Miller open on the other side and didn't look to her.
I can't tell you how hard it is what Aaliyah Edwards is doing. We saw her defending Abby Myers, fighting around screens. They're out on the perimeter on Sellers. It's hard for big players to do that.
We are headed to the fourth quarter with Maryland leading UConn 62-58. Back with more action after this message and a word from our ABC stations. It's a dance party at the Xfinity Center as we get set for the fourth quarter and a 4-point game. All outside for Maryland today and all inside for UConn.
Coming into this game, Connecticut knew their advantage was going to be in the paint, and they went to it in that third quarter. 14 points in the paint. A big part of it is Aaliyah Edwards. They go with the big lineup. Patterson gets it done inside as well. One more time for Patterson as they went big on the pass. Brenda Fries in Maryland has to figure out a way to take that away while they continue to take advantage of the perimeter offensively.
Aaliyah Edwards with 21, Aubrey Griffin with a double-double, 10 points, 11 rebounds for UConn. And for Maryland, Abby Myers with 18, but she did not have a basket in that third quarter as the Huskies rallied from a 12-point deficit to make things interesting. In 2 of the last 3 games, Maryland has been victorious on buzzer beaters. Is that where we're headed again tonight as they try and beat UConn for the very first time? They're 0 for 7. And Connecticut scores again in the paint.
Again, Ducharme is a big wing, and they like to run that play where they dive her from the opposite wing into the block.
UConn trying to hand Maryland a back-to-back home loss for the first time in 13 years. The last time they were home here, they fell to Nebraska. They've been so tough to beat at home.
And Brenda Fries in Maryland doing a good job picking on the spot where they have the advantage, and that's DeBerry trying to defend a smaller player who can put the ball on the floor.
Lopez Seneschal still sits with 4 fouls. Rejected by DeBerry as she steps out. Briggs, short.
And again, Aaliyah Edwards, that possession is defending Diamond Miller. I mean, this is a big, she's getting it done offensively and defensively, in particular here in the second half in the man-to-man.
Huskies have been trailing since the 4.5-minute mark of the first quarter. And now a chance to tie it or grab the lead. Edwards with a touch inside, even at 62.
Aaliyah Edwards continues to work. Doesn't get the ball initially, so what does she do? She just continues to work. Wow.
And one! Abby Myers off the dribble.
Abby Myers was the player hot in the first half, and then in the second half, some of her teammates picked it up. What a tough shot across her body to her weak hand.
And Myers to the free throw line. Season high is 23. Her career high from her days at Princeton dropped 29 on Kentucky.
Picked a good time to do it.
Yeah. Offensive rebound. Myers. Sellers to beat the buzzer.
They've gotten so many open looks from 3 off of their dribble penetration.
Well, she's wide open. Couldn't knock it down.
Saw the Connecticut coaching staff pointing. The right side of the floor is wide open.
Myers for 3. Rebound Ducharme. Edwards dropped it off to Ducharme, and Miller got the held ball, and it goes to the Terps.
How about the response? Every single time for Maryland. Every single time Connecticut's made a run, they've been able to respond here.
Yeah, now the Huskies will get Lopez Seneschal up to the scorer's table to check back in with the 4 fouls.
Face her up.
Miller into the lane. And another trip to the free throw line for Diamond. Our Week 14 Monday Night Football matchup as the Patriots in Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Playoff implications for New England as we inch closer to the postseason. 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ESPN. And the Manning cast is back with Peyton and Eli on ESPN 2. Coverage begins Monday Night Countdown at 6. Maryland now just 5 for 9 at the line.
This here was the lineup for Connecticut that had success in the third quarter with Lopez Seneschal and then extra bigs.
DeBerry has come back in along that front line. Edwards out of bounds to Maryland. So Diamond Miller has made back-to-back defensive plays for the Terps.
When you're having a night like she is in terms of shooting and not scoring, you got to find other ways to feel good and to feel involved and to help your team.
Alexander. She's been making buckets. 8-0 run for Maryland.
Dribble penetration and kick. Dribble penetration and kick. It's what's working so well for Maryland right now. You shift the defense. You change sides of the floor. Alexander's come through time and time again.
Are we headed that way again? Well, they've scored the last 8 to open things up a little bit and bring the crowd back into it.
Both Abby Myers and Cheyenne Sellers, the 2 players that made that last game winner happen against Purdue, have been the offensive catalysts in this game for Maryland.
Lopez Seneschal, assist Edwards.
Really good job by Alexander there. She almost drew Lopez Seneschal's 5th foul.
Good bucket out of the timeout drawn up on the UConn bench. Myers, turnover. Ducharme trying to take it all the way. Count it, and a foul.
Connecticut in a zone defense the last time down. Gets Maryland to turn it over, then pushing the other way. The Maryland team that's really done a good job taking care of the basketball in this game. And Ducharme, this is a tough finish.
Caroline Ducharme.
You all saw the celebration from Paige Beckers on the bench after the finish by Caroline Ducharme. And in that last UConn huddle, Paige was the first one to speak up. She said they went on their run, now we go on ours. A lot of encouragement from that group right there sitting on the bench for this squad.
And that was their first and 1 opportunity of the game. And they're back within 3. Alexander inside to Diamond Miller. And the basket for Diamond.
Against a long, tall Amari DeBerry. Nice job by Diamond Miller to keep her patience and get the shot up on the rim.
Under 6 to go. DeBerry in and out. Rebound Myers. Miller pushes. Pinzan. No.
Really good decision, though, by Miller. Get deep into the paint and then find your shooter in the corner.
Who's going to make the better decisions here down the stretch? Lopez Seneschal, the 3.
Lopez Seneschal.
They're going to review
They're
it.
going to look to see if it's a 2 or a 3. Initially here, they're only giving her a 2.
Yeah, that's a 2.
And it will stay that way. Yeah. Good job by the officials.
And to do it quickly.
Yes.
Yay, monitor review.
And the 2-point shot. Returning home to number 13.
11 now for Lopez Seneschal. 5 players in double digits for the Huskies. 4 for Maryland. Sellers blocked by DeBerry. That's her second one.
Big defensive play by Amari DeBerry. And when Connecticut was in the man-to-man, Maryland was picking on her on the perimeter. And since they've gone zone, she's been able to take up space, and just a great job there. Beautiful block, beautiful recovery of it.
At 6'5", elevated and got up there with Sellers. Did not play in that first half. And now making plays here in the fourth quarter.
Abby Myers picking up full court.
Four fouls for Seneschal, and there's an offensive foul on Ducharme as Sellers gets it back.
Sellers sold that one. That was right in front of us. We'll get a chance to see it again. Ducharme comes down. I mean, she puts the arm bar up. I don't know how much of a push there was, but great job by Sellers.
Lopez Seneschal and Masonis playing with 4 fouls. 5 minutes to go. Is it Miller time?
Good patience by Maryland.
Diamond for 3. Alexander. And they're going to call the held ball. It'll stay here with Maryland.
Good job by Maryland moving the ball around. I did not think that was the right shot for Miller to take at that point, especially with how she's struggling to shoot today.
Inbound was kicked. Quite sure what they're...
I think they're trying to get the arrow to be pointed in the other direction. There they go. They switched it.
All right, looks like we're ready to go. Sellers to inbound. Sellers. Foul by Edwards.
Penetrate and kick to the corners. Maryland has made their living on that all game long. Edwards tries to close out. Oh, did she get her?
That's the 3rd foul on Aaliyah. And 3 free throws coming for Shy. They're 7 for 10 now from the line. Make it 18 now for Sellers. Her last 3 games, she's been averaging 17. Has picked it up a bit.
Oh, yeah.
And they've needed her today. Gets all 3 of them.
Yeah, Leah Edwards got her right on the arm on the follow through to get to the free throw line.
Timeout call by Connecticut.
Timeout forced by Diamond Miller's defense.
Yeah.
Connecticut calls timeout.
So that will be the final timeout for Connecticut. A couple still left for Maryland with 4:20 to go. Got a doubleheader for you next Sunday on ESPN and ABC. It starts at 1 o'clock Eastern. Florida State and UConn. It's the Basketball Hall of Fame Showcase at Mohegan Sun Arena. And then Tennessee at Stanford. We'll be out in Maples for that one, 3 Eastern on ABC. And let's check in with Andrea.
You know, Rebecca, you talked all game about how UConn is missing their ball handlers, but also their decision makers. You know, this UConn offense, it's pitch and catch, it's read and react. It's almost an offense that you run off of instincts. And to play with instinct, that takes time. So this group that is out here, those instinctual players, those are the players on the bench. You see it almost 5-second calls, some of the turnovers. Some of that comes from just not knowing where to go next with the basketball. It's easier said than done to run the UConn offense.
Where to pass the ball, where to cut, how to take advantage of the reads that you're seeing defensively. Absolutely, Drea.
And so much attention, guys, here down the stretch will be on Inej Betancourt. Remember her story. Nika Mule, the leading assist giver in America, is out in the concussion protocol. So Betancourt gets her first start. This is a young lady who was headed to the junior college ranks over the summer. And then when Paige Beckers got hurt, UConn found her and offered her. She arrived on the first day of class. And now, will she be critical down the stretch? She is not on the floor right now. They elect to go with a different group. And for the second time in a row, they score on the inbounds out of a timeout.
Beautifully executed play. Get the ball into DeBerry, knowing that you're going to have a cutter in Aubrey Griffin.
UConn is at 6 of its 8 shots here in the fourth. Alexander, good for 3.
From the three-point line, just they continue to take advantage of slow closeouts or switching sides of the floor.
33 points from outside the arc, and they force another turnover. That's number 20.
17 more shots for Maryland in this game. 17 more field goal attempts.
Three and a half to go. Masonis dribbled it off her foot to the Huskies. Lopez Seneschal tied up by Sellers, and that's another turnover.
How many jump balls have we had in this game?
Quite a few.
Holy cow.
Gino doesn't think there was ever any joint possession.
If it was, it wasn't for long.
Yeah. Betancourt stays on the sideline for Connecticut. Sellers. Alexander. And DeBerry fouled by Masonis, and that's her 5th. Sellers got to be careful she doesn't get teed up here.
I know the crowd doesn't like it, and Cheyenne Sellers doesn't like it, but you can't undercut a player who's going up and leaving her feet to get a board. You can't take their legs out. It's a foul. Oh, I'm looking at what the crowd's looking at. I can understand why they were upset about that. She just turned her body, and DeBerry kind of just lost her balance.
And then over and back.
So here it is, the one that they're complaining about. So Masonis is kind of just standing there, and DeBerry lands on her and loses her balance. That should have just been a play on.
Well, right now, the lack of a primary ball handler and decision maker affecting Connecticut as Maryland tries to take advantage and extend the lead. Miller. Myers the turnaround. And another foul inside on Maryland. This will be on Sellers, her fourth. Just the third on the team, so no free throws yet. And now Gino will try and get Betancourt in, but not before the inbounds. Ducharme. One-handed scoop, no. Offensive rebound for Griffin. Griffin pulls up 15-footer short. Comes all the way back out to her. And they find Edwards. Ducharme. Tough shot. Edwards, offensive rebound. She'll take care of it herself.
Edwards will find Edwards. You can't get the ball in your hands off the set, and you're big. You go to the offensive glass.
25 for Aaliyah. Under 2 minutes to go. Two-possession game. Alexander for three. And here comes Connecticut. Griffin. Ducharme. Edwards, no. Diamond Miller.
Aaliyah Edwards has been really good today, and in the paint where she's caught the ball, you can't get it, you go get it yourself on the offensive glass.
Substitution now, so they will go back to the smaller lineup. Will Connecticut. Betancourt on, DeBerry out. Patterson also comes on for Ducharme.
DeBerry looked like she injured something as she was coming off the floor.
Diamond Miller. Baseline. Black. Fouled by Edwards.
You've got to know that when Diamond Miller gets the basketball, she wants to drive it left. But knowing it and stopping it are two different things, and she does a great job getting to the other side of the rim.
That is the fourth foul on Edwards. 1:16 to go. And Diamond Miller is 4 of 6 from the stripe. Now for Diamond. Time of the essence for Connecticut. Lopez Seneschal for three. That's good.
1 minute remaining.
Drives, got in trouble up in the air. Alexander. Miller, open look. Huge three for Diamond Miller. Down on the deck, fighting for the loose ball, and Maryland comes up with it. Knocked out of bounds to UConn. 17 seconds to go.
Massive shot by Diamond Miller, left open, which for most of today would have been okay for a Connecticut defense, but makes the big one when it matters most.
Her first three of the afternoon. After she was 0 for 7 in the first half, she's come back in the second, trying to beat Connecticut for the very first time and trying to keep that streak alive of not losing back-to-back home games back to the 2010 campaign. Already with ranked wins over Baylor and Notre Dame. They lost earlier this year to #1 South Carolina. I'm not sure they're looking at possession.
Yeah, I think they must be looking at possession.
It'll stay UConn.
But it gives Connecticut a timeout they wouldn't have otherwise had to figure out what they want to run offensively.
They do not have any left. Huskies do have the possession arrow.
I mean, without timeouts, without the ability to advance, you would think a 7-point lead for Maryland would seal the deal, but you wanted a buzzer beater. So let's see what we got.
Lopez, Seneschal, baseline, pull up. This is a very good free throw shooting team on the season. So Diamond Miller, who had just 2 points in that first half, 13 in the second half, and what looks like that dagger 3 just a moment ago. UConn does not have a foul to give, so they can try and get the steal quickly or foul here.
Yeah, they certainly don't want the foul to give. So they will try to get the steal if they can, and then if not, foul right away. Maryland's been very good from the free throw line, though, today, 11 of 14.
Looks like the worst free throw shooter out there would be Lavender Briggs, #3, at 71% on the season. That's their worst.
And, of course, it can't be Lopez Seneschal that gives the foul for UConn.
Inbound to Miller. And there's the foul. They lost a few precious seconds. Their Betancourt did not foul right away. So Patterson gets the foul with 8.6 seconds to go.
At the line for Maryland, Diamond Miller, shooting 2.
Outstanding three-point shooting today for Maryland. They will certainly win the ball security battle today. And scoring points off of those turnovers critical. Lopez Seneschal gets the shot up, and that'll do it. For the first time in school history, the Maryland Terrapins beat